Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello. Welcome back to Divorce Happens, a podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter. Because as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. We're here with one of my favorite segments I always love on this show is when I get to chat with divorced humans, as I like to say. And we're here with a divorced human today, Lisa Niver, and she's also an author. And I'm very excited to hear what she learned from divorce. So, Lisa, can you introduce yourself to the crowd here?
Thank you so much, Olivia, for having me on. It's such an honor to be able to speak about this. I know for myself when I was getting divorced how challenging it is, so I really appreciate that. But to introduce myself, I'm a traveler. I'm a teacher. I've spent a lot of my career on the road. I work as a journalist now, and I've been very fortunate to be a content creator in multi-platform. So I've done writing, digital, and print. I have a book, Brave-ish, that I'm sure we'll talk about. And and I do videos, and I'm a TV host as well.
Yeah, you're a bit of everything, but you can always tell when somebody comes on the podcast and they're used to this. They're like, "Hi, let's go. I'm ready to get started." So I love that. So, Lisa, tell us, so much of the divorce journey is what we learned from the divorce journey. What were three of the lessons, the many, many lessons that you learned on this journey of divorce?
One of the biggest things for me when I was living in Asia at the time, I was traveling with my then spouse when things fell apart completely on the last day I ever saw him. And when I came back to the United States by myself, I turned to my community. I grew up at Stephen Wise Temple and I met with my rabbi. And one of the things that stayed with me the whole time was he was at the time getting retired. And he said his nephew had said to him, "You don't have to write the next chapter. You just have to turn the page." And that's one of the most important things to me in my divorce was I wanted to know what was going to happen in 5 years and what was going to happen in 5 weeks and what was I doing and was I getting divorced and I was so anxious and in my head and anxiety. And I was like, okay, people say just for today, take a breath. And it's not one of my most impressive style things. So that was really helpful. Just turn the page. So I think that was one of the best things that I learned. Thank you. The other thing that was really important to me was someone told me you can't do new things in an old way. And I got inspired by that to try a lot of new things. And there was a gym nearby that had 7 days free. And I literally went all day, every day. And my friend's boyfriend said they had everything. They had pole dancing and burlesque. I tried everything. And my friend's boyfriend said, "You know what's going to happen on the 7th day, Lisa? They're going to give you flowers." I said, "Why?" "Because I'm so great." He goes, "No, to get rid of you. Most people sign up 7 days for free and never go." And I was like,
Right.
"Oh, okay." So the trying new things helped me. And then the other thing that was amazing to me that I really stuck with me through my divorce, I was reading a lot and I read a book called Super Survivors. And a lot of people talk to me about post-traumatic stress and drama and trauma. And I was like, yeah. This book was the first time I ever read the words post-traumatic growth. That after something happens to you, that maybe it's an opportunity and a turning point for amazing, great things to happen. And in the book, I wrote about it and I've never forgotten it. They talk about, when you drive your car, can you just look in the rearview mirror and still drive? I was like, no, that's a good point. Cannot drive your car. But I wrote it down because it's so important. What did they say? It said, forgiveness is giving up the hope that the past could be any different. because people kept saying to me, you have to forgive yourself and you have to forgive him and blah, 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 and move on. And
Yeah.
I felt like that was acceptance. And I loved it that all it is forgiveness, saying the past is in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. I often think about that in the aspect of when people are like, "Well, it takes two people, right, in a relationship." And for me, for a long time, I was like, "But no, right? It was him, it was him, it was him." And then I thought, "Well, okay, I'm not things did happen to me, right? But also what caused me to walk into this relationship, right? And that's the part of the healing that I had to do, right? So it is taking accountability for kind of you without forgiving necessarily in all the ways. I love that. So you learned a lot from your divorce to the point where you wrote a book about it. So can you tell us about your book?
Yes, I will show you if the people that can see. So my book is called Bravish: One Breakup, Six Continents, and Feeling Fearless After 50. So one of the things that happened during my divorce, I am based in Los Angeles. And so that means there's a lot of kinds of therapy to try in Los Angeles. I'm not sure that everywhere in the world has quite as much access to the full emotional range of things. But one of the
True.
things when I was in therapy with a woman who is a EMDR specialist, which is the tapping in the eye. Anyway, they trying to do all this eye things with me, and I said to her that I had had something was not quite right with my eyes, but no one could ever really diagnose me. And she said, "Well, would you be curious to know more?" And I was really like, "I'm not that curious, and I'm not going to any more doctors." And it was like a stalemate. Anyway, eventually I went to the doctor she recommended, and I had an undiagnosed eye issue my whole life. And my whole life, people said I was clumsy, which turned out I'm not clumsy. I didn't see like other people. As part of the whole process during my divorce and fixing my eyes, the eye doctor said to me, "Now that your eyes see right, I want you to do something, like maybe play tennis." I'm like, "Oh my God, that would be a disaster." Anyway, through that, got inspired. I ended up doing 50 challenges before I turned 50.
Mm.
And it was amazing. It really changed my life. It was definitely in that through line of getting divorced, trying new things, turning 50. Anyway, at some point, I'm a journalist. Someone said maybe that should be a book. So I only wanted the book to be the 50 things, but I met with a bunch of agents and everyone said, "Oh no, it has to start with the divorce," which I was not willing to write about. I shelved the project, but eventually I got can it called to me that it was important
Yeah.
to do and share. And so the book starts on the worst day of my life and then goes through my life, my divorce, and then the 50 things.
Well, what can you give us an example just of a few of these things that you did?
Sure. So one of the questions I often get asked is, what's the scariest of the 50 things? And
Uh-huh.
so my actual 50th challenge was I went skydiving. And I had always said I would never jump out of a perfectly well-maintained airplane. And my skydive instructor, because of course I was doing tandem, they
Yep.
were trying to keep me there because unfortunately it was a cloudy day. And for anyone that's never chosen this so fun activity,
Mhm.
um, you can't go if it's cloudy. So for 2 hours, that's 120 minutes, I thought about my choices. They were trying to keep me from leaving because I was like, okay, this was a bad idea to begin with.
Right.
Now it's clearly a bad idea. Anyway, he asked me about my challenges. And I had just been in Mexico swimming with bull sharks, which are
Okay.
not scuba diving, not swimming. Scuba
Yep.
diving with bull sharks, which are one of the top three claimed to be most dangerous sharks. And the guy looks at me, he says, "I would never do that. I would never scuba dive with sharks." And I was like, "What do you mean you would never scuba dive with sharks? You're super brave. They pay you to jump out of an airplane." He said, "Well, I'm scared of that." And that was the day I really learned that I always thought some people like him were brave and some people like me were not brave. And like a
Mm.
light switch, mine wasn't on and his was. And that was the day I realized it's not true. It's about exposure and it's about learning and it's about support. The very first time I went scuba diving, I was afraid of scuba diving. The very first time I saw a shark underwater, I was afraid of a shark underwater. The very first time, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm a highly trained scuba diver, and I've been many times, and that was my next I actually went to a place that was called Shark School, and we had lessons in the morning. We talked about shark behavior. In the afternoon, we went
Wow.
in the water, underwater with the sharks. Just like there's no way they would ever say to me, "Oh, yeah, Lisa, skydive by yourself, no lessons."
Right. Right.
And so that really helped me rethink, what does it mean to be brave? And I think it helped with the title a bit about brave-ish, that
Yeah.
everybody's afraid of something. And a lot of people are afraid of getting divorced, being divorced. Life is scary. I wrote a lot of the book during COVID, which sometimes I had to remind myself happened to everyone. It wasn't just
Mhm.
happening to me. It was
Mhm.
so overwhelming to be home alone.
Yeah.
But so that was one of the scariest ones, the skydiving. But the scariest to me was actually mountain biking, because I went mountain biking at North Star Lake Tahoe on a ski run in the summer. And, skydiving, there's someone you're clipped to. If something goes wrong, it's their fault. But if you're mountain biking, no matter how many pads you have, you're still falling. But
Yeah,
it was
no,
fun.
I
I
wouldn't do
did a
any of
lot of
that, by the
crazy.
way. So you can
Well,
put me on a parade. I will lead the Macy's Day Parade, but I will not go mountain biking. So there you go. The book sounds amazing. I cannot wait to recommend it to people. We're so happy that you're here. And before we let you go, I'm very, very curious your answer here. If somebody is listening to this and they're going through a divorce or considering divorce, what would be some words of encouragement you could leave them with?
words of encouragement. I know for myself, when I was getting divorced, I really felt like a failure, and it felt so challenging. Like, my world was really shattered after, being pushed to the ground. And I lay there on the ground after my husband essentially assaulted me in public in Thailand. And I didn't know if my neck was broken, my arm was broken. I knew my heart was broken. And I didn't know, could I get up? Could I go home? What was going to happen? I'd say the best thing anybody said to me was, that they would walk with me. That, people who called me every day and listened to me cry, or people that said, it is hard. The people that I think the most helpful thing is to find at least one person that, you could call at any time at 3 in the morning when you wake up and you just are freaking out, or something. For me, it helped a lot. There was this podcast that Deepak Chopra and Oprah Winfrey had, and I used to
Mhm.
listen to that on repeat, just their calm voices. I think the most encouraging thing you can say is it gets better. Um, Happy couples don't get divorced. And it is as hard as it is to go through all of the legal mechanics and the financial mechanics and the feelings about yourself. It does get better. I think that it's very hard when you're in the middle of the struggle to think you can make it. And for me, I there was a part during my divorce. I was like, I'm never travel again. I'm not gonna laugh again. Nothing's gonna be good again. And my friends were like, it's gonna be so much better. That you
Mm.
just one friend and one person really can make a difference. So, I try every day that there's one thing that you buy yourself one flower, you call one friend, or that 5-minute change can really make a difference.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, where can people buy Bravish?
Bravish is available in all the bookstores. It's at Target, Walmart, Amazon. There's a digital book if you read on Kindle, and or wherever you read on digital books. Some people, I guess, read on their phone even. They're more advanced than me. And there's an audiobook, and I'm the narrator. So it's available on every platform.
Amazing. I can't wait to read it. Lisa, we're so appreciative of you and your honesty and your openness. And this is so inspiring. I know it's going to inspire many, many women, not just through divorce, but through midlife and really trying new things and getting themselves out there. So thank you so much for sharing today. And please go pick up Ravish. We will put a link in the show notes. Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.